Hello to everyone on native lands. This is Danny Brigman, and you are listening to the Living and Building on Our Homelands podcast. Thank you for tuning in. Hello there, everyone on native lands. Danny here, coming to you from my lunch break, making the best use of my time, trying to record these things for you all. This is the second episode. Thank you guys for listening and watching. And yeah, I'll get right to it. A couple things I want to go over, maybe some basic introductory things, and then some topics I want to hit for this episode, talking about some thoughts, some things around land acknowledgement, and then also talking about kind of Crabpot mentality, like what that is, and kind of how that just affects specifically people on reservations, and like specifically like some like native entrepreneurship, and kind of just my perspective on it. And then talk about Spokane River Run, which just volunteered at. Hoping to maybe have this one a little bit shorter, kind of on point. And also want to thank you all for tuning in to these early episodes and bearing with me through this process. I know as it goes, more repetitions, just like with everything else, we'll really dial in what this podcast will be about. I'm sure I'll get better staying on topic, maybe not rambling, and really hope to provide you guys with some quality content and entertainment. And then, yeah, I'm sure this will evolve over time. So I'll just get right to it. So a couple things I want to go over with the top of the episode. Maybe if I didn't make clear, if you listened to the first one or if you're just tuning in now, what I'm hoping to do with this is to shed light on what's happening behind the scenes with Homelands, kind of just creating this business from the ground up, and talk about not only what kind of has happened with it, but like my learnings and some information I wish I would have had that would have really helped me out doing this, and try and pass that on to the next person. And when it comes to any of this business stuff, any of this entrepreneurship things, I don't want to talk about anything that I don't personally have experience with. I do have education, bachelor's and MBA, but I know textbook education can only get you so far, and real world experience is so much more. So like, I'm not going to be talking about like how to increase your net income by 50% over 90 days or anything like that, because I haven't done it. So I'm not going to pretend like I know things that I don't. And if those are things you're looking for, then maybe find a different spot. So I'm only going to talk about what I have learned with Homelands on that business side, and then kind of how it relates to the current developments with Homelands, and intertwining in the native perspective and different cultural things where I can. So that's kind of like first disclaimer I kind of want to put out there. And second, this will kind of constantly be evolving, because especially like with the businessy things, eventually this app's going to be live, and maybe there'd be more or less to talk about there. So I'm just going to continually try and just refine what this podcast is going to be covering, but it's generally going to be kind of some native entrepreneurship, what I'm learning, how I can try to help you if you're doing anything similarly, mixed in with just updates on Homelands, and kind of geared towards those maybe travel history, things like that, and kind of where Homelands is looking to be headed, and potentially have some guests on also. Another kind of disclaimer information to know off the top. I'm going to work really hard on taking in your guys' feedback for you guys, you early adopters. And I do have a general vision for this. So if you don't see all of your feedback, know that's kind of part of it. But also, I really appreciate any and all feedback to kind of help, like I said, refine this, get this more fine-tuned. And if it kind of aligns with where I'm trying to go, try and give you guys the content you all are asking for. So without further ado, I'm going to jump into my first topic that I have for you guys I want to talk about. That's just land acknowledgements. So I'm sure there's kind of some varying opinions out there. And I guess maybe another disclaimer. A lot of these are kind of my opinion. I think they're fairly general, but again, each individual tribal member in each individual tribe, they have their own thoughts and feelings on things. So I'm not speaking for everyone as a whole, and I'm not going to portray myself as, but some just general thoughts on this, because since Homelands does tie into some land acknowledgement pieces, and kind of just want to share my thoughts with you all. This came up recently. I was at a housing conference for work last week, And I was talking to another Spokane tribe member, a colleague, about this specific topic and our thoughts on it. So what I think a basic land acknowledgement, so like think if it's a race or meeting or whatever, and they say, hey, I want to take a moment to acknowledge that we are meeting, running, whatever, on the traditional lands of the Spokane tribe who have been here, blah, 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 blah. It's your basic land acknowledgement. And my personal belief, I think that's a really good starting point, but it shouldn't be the end goal. And that's something that kind of bothers me for, I think, a lot of non-native organizations. It's kind of the end goal, and it gives off the vibes that they are just checking a box. They're like, cool, look, we care more than the next person does. We did a land acknowledgement. Let's move on. And I've kind of seen this at different trail races and things. I don't want to put them on blast. I'm not going to name names. But even sometimes they just have them on a website. They don't do it at the actual race. I'm like, hey, look, we care. We did a land acknowledgement. But if that's your end goal, that doesn't accomplish anything, in my opinion, beyond virtue signaling of just trying to say to everyone out there, like, hey, look, I care more than these other people do. And so it's of my opinion that it needs to go a step further. Like, what are you going to do beyond just saying, hey, these are native lands? I haven't seen the video yet, but it was brought up to me on that same topic that there was a video kind of making fun, like a reel making fun of land acknowledgements. And it was showing two individuals, they were stealing someone's car. Like, wait, before we steal this car, we have to do a car acknowledgement. Thank you to the owner of this car for providing it and having it in such good shape. We are thankful for you as we are now stealing it. On a basic level, that's kind of like what a land acknowledgement is. Like, it's stolen land, and you're just saying, hey, like, thanks for taking care of it. It's ours now. So I think it now needs to go beyond that. Speaking from like a trail running perspective, like, what are you doing beyond a land acknowledgement? Are you trying to work with local tribes to incentivize getting tribal members to participate in your race? Are you working to just try and get more Native Americans in general in your race? Are you working with the tribes to provide historical context for your participants? Are you working with local tribes, local tribal organizations to have their departments or anything set up booths at your race? Are you including them in like trail work conversations of where to put in a new trail system, or hey, what do you think about partnering together to do some trail maintenance, this weekend, whatever? Like, bring them to the table. Bring tribes, tribal organizations, tribal members to the table. And I think that's where you need to go with land acknowledgements. And at the same time, I want to speak out of a place of compassion. I'm not saying this is for everyone, but I think too often as a Native American, understandably so, we get really defensive. And I don't think it helps accomplish our goals and create meaningful change if we vilify these organizations that just do check the box. I think we need to approach it in a different way and give them an opportunity to learn and to do more. And if they don't seize that opportunity, then that's on them. Because I think what can or does happen oftentimes is maybe they don't realize they're virtue signaling. They don't know any different. They're just ignorant to it, not willfully ignorant. And so just opening up that dialogue from a non-anger place, I think can go a long way, because it's just my perception that oftentimes when they do check the box, if natives, individuals, tribes, organizations do reach out, it's somewhat to vilify them. And I don't think that's how we accomplish that goal. And it's like, that's why when creating the idea for homelands, I didn't want it to just be, here's whose native lands are, you're on, and that's end of story. That's why within the app, we're building that Wikipedia style historical page to provide that context. So that way we're not like aiding people in virtue signaling. Now you're one click away from actually learning something and opening that door that you might have otherwise just walked past. And so I think that's something really important, and we need to take into account more when it comes into land acknowledgements on either side. From a native perspective or a non-native perspective, I think we need to come together with an open mind and trying to help. Because think of it from as a native, put yourself in their shoes. You know, they don't know the tribes. They don't know the individuals. They might not know what's politically correct or what's insensitive. And unfortunately, like if you're able, you might be the one to have to shepherd them along. If you're not up for it, like that's fine. It's not for everyone, and I totally understand. Kind of leading off the top, like none of us should be a spokesperson for all of Indian country. Every tribe is unique, and each tribe member within each tribe is unique. And so I think we need to take that into account. And then on the flip side, if there's any non-natives, race organizations, events that are listening, think about land acknowledgements. If you do have that one individual that is triggered, is offended, and is trying to cancel you, just know like that's not all of Indian country. That's how that person feels. They're right to feel that way. But it's not all of Indian country. We're not a monolith. And at the same time, from the native perspective, we need to think that on the other side, they're not a monolith either. They're not all out to get us. They're not all virtue signaling. Like, we need to treat each other with compassion. And so that's just kind of my soapbox for the land acknowledgements. And then, so go ahead, comment, DM me, like let me know your guys' thoughts on land acknowledgements. And there's even like ideas. I think that's something we need to come to the table with for these organizations, ideas on what they can do more. Too often, generally speaking, but just what I see in my tribe, we're often quick to tell someone that they're wrong, their idea sucks, it's not going to work, but like, what are you proposing instead? You're just saying, nope, that won't work, that won't work, that won't work. Okay, well, what will? And I think that's the mindset we need to bring to the table. And you know, who knows, maybe your ideas won't work, but at least it'll get a dialogue going. And it's better than just shooting everything down. And so yeah, anyway, any more thoughts, anything like that, go ahead, let me know. I'd love to hear your guys' takes on it. And leading right into kind of the next topic here. Crabpot mentality. I'm honestly kind of surprised in my own community how many people don't know what it means, even though like we've experienced it. So anyone listening, what the crabpot mentality kind of just is that you're having a crab trying to crawl out of the pot, trying to get ahead, trying to get out, trying to like live a life, and other crabs pull it back down to be with them because they can't get out. And I'm sure it happens other places, but on the reservation, it happens a lot. I'm sure many of you have experienced it of you try to better your life, whether it's getting sober, getting a better job, becoming educated, becoming a supervisor, becoming a parent, becoming a present parent. And oftentimes our peers, the people we thought we were friends, our community can pull us back down into that crab pot. And it's really hard. Like I experience it, you know, on a personal level, oftentimes still living here on the reservation, experience it professionally, trying to make my place of work better, more efficient, accomplish new goals, and then especially even creating homelands. And I think it's just something everyone has to figure out to navigate. And it's easier said than done, but I think it's important to do your best to not let it make you too cynical. And I'm almost saying this out loud for myself because there's times I get very cynical just based off of how many roadblocks get placed in my way, which feels like it comes from that place of the crab pot mentality. And yeah, it's hard. It's really hard. Like you do these things oftentimes because you want to make your community better. You want more for not even like if you're not a parent, like if it's obviously you want more for your kids, but even if you're not a parent, you just want more for your community. You want more for your tribe. You want more for your town. And some people just don't. And unfortunately, the haters, the negative people, these people with the crab pot mentality, they're always the loudest. It's really unfortunate. And so I think it's something we need to take time to appreciate, you know, the individual, whether it's a pat on the back or individual support, because it does get hard. Life is hard. Life on the reservation is hard. Entrepreneurship is hard. Entrepreneurship on the reservation is hard. And I think we need to give ourselves some grace and remind ourselves of that negative reaction doesn't define everything. Again, speaking on the monoliths, maybe that's a common theme throughout. Just because that one person, that one department, that one whatever is trying to pull you back down doesn't mean everyone is. And it's easier said than done, but it's a trauma response. Our reservations is just like trauma is in our DNA, you know, throughout the boarding schools, termination era, allotment era, trauma's in our blood, and it's a trauma response. And we need to do our best to respond sympathetically, but then also remember that doesn't define every reaction, and we can still do good for our communities. And oftentimes, like maybe you need a break from the community, and that's okay. I think oftentimes, whether it's us specifically or the community in general, like vilify those who leave the reservation, but it's okay. I think it's a good thing to leave for a while. Whether you do come back or don't, I think it's perfectly fine. Everybody's different. Everyone has different needs, wants, issues. And so I think like we need to remind ourselves that. And if it's actually physically leaving the reservation, if it's like a break from social media, like mental health is so valuable. And it's something I'm glad society in general is prioritizing more. And so when we're dealing with the crabpot mentality, I think these are all things we need to remind ourselves and to not get discouraged and don't give up just because of that mentality. That's kind of just my thoughts there on that. Again, a lot of this easier said than done. I'm no expert on defeating the crabpot mentality or anything like that. It's something we continue to deal with. But if any of you are going through it, just know like you're not alone. This happens to a lot of people and a lot of Native people. But yeah, then I'm kind of just cruising through these topics here. But another thing I kind of just wanted to talk about, Spokane River Run. That was last Sunday, just right outside the city of Spokane, near my reservation here. And myself and my daughter volunteered at one of the aid stations for it was the 50K relay, and 20K challenge runners. There were some other shorter distances, but they didn't hit our aid station. It was super fun. Loved having my 7-year-old there helping me. Race director let us put up some homeland signage kind of around the aid station, talk about it. Had some great conversations with some individuals on homelands and what's going on with it. So that was great, but it was just really fun, showing face, showing up for the trail running community and just supporting some amazing runners. And it's really fun being on the other side of it, having been the runner many times, and just the different little interactions and reminders of them of like asking if they have any garbage to take out of their pockets, because that's something I always forget. And just them being thankful to being reminded, or telling them, hey, like grab this extra cup of water, dump it on your head, down your back, things like that. Super, super fun. My daughter was really into it, so that was really cool as a father to see her enjoying it. Just overall a really great race and put on very well. Had a little bit of issues, just communication leading up to it, of like wanting to volunteer and kind of sponsor a spot and trying to coordinate that. But once that was worked out, everyone there, amazing. It's a great, amazing community. Kind of tying these things together. They did do a land acknowledgement in the beginning, and it was good. It was solid. I hope to have more conversations with them later about like what more could potentially be done, or maybe connect them with others. Like I don't know all the answers. I'm not going to speak for everyone in my tribe, but just maybe give some ideas, maybe help create some connections and some things to do in the future just beyond that. But yeah, it was super fun. And then it was really cool seeing some members of my tribe out there also running, and I didn't know it. My sister, she was running one race too, and props to her. She's pregnant and finished her 25K. She did amazing out there. It got really hot. She had to problem solve a little bit, but she was able to cross that finish line, and my niece ran across with her. It was really great. It was a lot of fun, and I really appreciate those people who put on that race. It's just so well done. And it's one of those things as a trail runner, like I think we can't ever tell the volunteers and race organizations like thank you enough, because it just takes that one bad experience of like, oh my God, I never want to go to that race again. And so when people do it right, and they do it right so often, and they do so many different parts of it right, I think we need to take that time to thank them and thank them for contributing to the community. But yeah, I think it was some good exposure for Homelands. That's something I'm trying to do, even though the app isn't live right now, of showing face in our communities, giving back when I can. And like I touched, if you listen to the first episode, like that's my differentiating factor, that I'm a member of these communities. And so I just need to double down on that fact. And Spokane River Run was one way of me doing that. Yeah, so that was a lot of fun. God, I think I had another, kind of just cruising through topics here, but I think I had a couple other little things I want to talk about. Just trying to think and wrap up here. Shoot, covered that. Yeah, hang on, just 1 second. Right, hopefully what I just didn't screw up the recordings there. I'm trying a new platform. Yeah, just trying to edit this down a little bit better, trying to make the most of your guys' time, not waste it, stay on topic. But yeah, thank you guys for tuning in. Yeah, so that's kind of just a couple of topics I want to talk about. I think what I'm going to start doing with these things too is at least definitely for the next episode, start having some guests on, interview them, and kind of tie it back to homelands and get some feedback and some different things. And really want to highlight some other people, some other native entrepreneurs that are doing great things out there in the world. And yeah, not too many new updates for Homelands. It's kind of just a slow process right now with the app developers. So still plugging away on that. I do have a community event I'm trying to pull off here soon. I don't want to necessarily announce it quite yet. Contract still waiting to be signed, so I don't want to get too far out over my skis and just God forbid something come up. Because again, there's kind of some recurring themes, but there's a few different things I was excited about on that I talked about on the first episode, just briefly, not really specifically, but just got super excited. Didn't necessarily broadcast them out, but definitely started like telling people, and it just didn't pan out for one reason or another. No one's fault. So really excited. I really hope this community event pans out. I think it'd be really great and potentially open the doors for some other great opportunities, giving back to the community, helping get the Homeland's name out there. But yeah, so yeah, thank you guys all for tuning in. I know this episode is a little bit shorter. I hope you all enjoyed. Comment, DM, email, whatever way, with some feedback. Really appreciate it. Definitely still working on this, and then even in once I start roping in some guests, if you guys have anyone that you'd recommend or know, definitely shoot it my way. I'd love to have some conversations and definitely learn more about these different people, their businesses, or whatever they're doing, whether in the outdoor world or for Indian country. That's what I'm kind of hoping to do with this also. So anyway, thank you all for your time. I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you for listening to episode 2. I got to figure out some way for these early adopters. I want to try and reward you somehow. So I'll try and get something creative for the people bearing with me, probably with these painful early episodes. Definitely feel like you need to be rewarded. So I'll try and figure something out for you. Yeah, share, like, comment. Anyway, that is it for me. Hope you all have a great rest of your day. And then, till next time, lum lumps.